Alright, we just had a minor technical issue. Apparently we're going to be starting the run over, so I get a second chance. Try to die less. Anyway, I'm Tzann, this is VVVVVV. You ready? Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so once again, I'm just going to be suiciding in the opening cutscene to take myself back to the ship and to skip the tutorial area. Because we leave a crewmate behind in that tutorial area, we're going to be going back later, but we can just teleport right to the end and skip most of it. And it also helps for skip later in the game. Right, so I'm going to be grabbing this checkpoint, then going over to the teleporter over here. I just need that for later. Now I'm going to be going to the warp zone, but on the way I'll grab a couple trinkets and another teleporter. The trinkets are what you need to complete 100%. There's 20 trinkets all over the game. So that was one of them. Every time you collect a trinket there's a small text box. If you have a frame perfect, if you die on the same frame you pick up the trinket, you can then skip the text box, but it's frame perfect and it doesn't save much time. So here's a second teleporter that I need for later. And I'll be grabbing another trinket over here. So that was a frame perfect text box skip there. Saves about 1 second. It also turns off the in-game music, which is kind of sad, but we can live with it. So this is the start, basically, of the warp zone. We're not actually in the level yet, but it kind of teases the gimmick, which are these warp tokens. In the warp zone itself, you'll then also have wrapping screens and stuff like that, which makes it interesting. So this area is kind of like a maze. So as you can see, I'm going to walk through a room and it looks exactly the same in just a bit. But it's actually two separate rooms that just look exactly the same. Alright, so this is the warp zone, and what you'll see here is that there's wrapping screens, which makes it somewhat difficult to keep track of where you're going, but you get used to it. There's a small cycle skip here, you don't have to go around to the right. Oh, it was a bit early. So right here is going to be the first trick. If I collide with an enemy while it's kind of off screen, I won't actually hit it. Here's another trick. That's frame perfect. If you die on the same frame, you take a death warp, it'll put you somewhere else on the next screen. And that's the end of warp zone. So next up we'll be doing a telejump, which is basically dying and teleporting at the same time, which allows me to clip through a wall. So I'll be ending up halfway through the lab already. Saves quite a significant amount of time. And right here, that was a line clip. Basically, if you flip and then, or you hold flip for exactly 1 frame, then let go of it for exactly 1 frame, and then press it again, you can clip through a line that's close to the ground. But because the line has to be close to the ground, it's only useful in 4 places during the run, and 3 of them are in the final level. So the gimmick of this area, which is the lab, are these lines that you can see. Basically, anytime I touch them, they just flip gravity. To set up the cycle for the next room here. There we go. Nice. Oh, this is kind of a tight skip here. It's probably one of the hardest trinkets to find casually because you're kind of not going where the game intends you to go, but yeah. Alright, so that's the end of the lab. So after lab we'll be doing tower. It's somewhat important to do tower third because after the tower comes the intermission area, and depending on which crewmate you take to the intermission, you get less or more dialogue, and Vermilion, who is at the end of the tower, has the least dialogue of all crewmates in the game, so we have to do tower third. I'll again be doing a telejump. Oh, that was not the right teleporter. Oops. I could just buffer this, should be fine, or not. So if you can't buffer it, you have to press enter and R on the exact same frame, which is somewhat difficult. It's not too bad. Alright, so this is the tower. It's an auto-scroller. There'll be one trick that I'll do here, which is a checkpoint death. Basically, if I touch a checkpoint and die right at the top of the screen, the tower will have to scroll upwards to make me not die instantly again, which saves about 0.7 seconds per checkpoint death. Because it's 100%, we have to get trinkets, which means we have to skip a couple of those, but there's still a couple more later on. So that's one of the checkpoint deaths. It saves about 0.7 seconds each time. There, that was all of them that we do in 100%. So the rest of the tower is basically just an auto-scroller, not very exciting. But it's still entirely possible to die and lose a lot of time. Alright, that's the end of the tower. Next up is going to be the intermission area, like I said. The gimmick for the intermission is that whenever you're standing on the ground, the crewmate that you're escorting will walk to you, and if you're standing on the ceiling, then he won't. So there's a couple cycles that are a little bit hard to make. One room in particular is one of the most notorious rooms in the speedrun, because it's very hard to do the fast strat. So of course I'll be trying that. So this next room coming up is very difficult. There we go. Second try is pretty good. Alright, so that's the end of the intermission. Usually when you save the fourth crewmate, so the one after this, you would be taken to the next intermission, which is the Gravitron. Oh. Oh, never mind. Yeah. So when you save the next crewmate, you get taken to the Gravitron normally. But because we skipped the tutorial area of the game, which triggers a cutscene when you save the crewmate, we can actually use that so to go save that crewmate now, and then use that cutscene, which overwrites basically the Gravitron to skip the entire level, which saves about 1.5 minutes. So it's pretty significant. But first, we need a trinket, which is very far away. And there's a very sad elephant here, for whatever reason. So this area here is Space Station 2. We'll be doing part of it, and then basically going into Space Station 1, which is the tutorial area, halfway through, to skip the Gravitron. So right here, I need to. Oh wow! First try. I need to flip. I need to flip between these two platforms, which is frame perfect because it saves walking around all the way to the left. I can buffer 2 flips there, which skips the cycle. So here we do another unintended skip, basically, where we kind of flip into an area we're not supposed to be able to access yet, but or you normally have to go around for it. Alright, so coming up is the most notorious trinket in the game. If you're playing this game casually, this will probably take you a couple hundred attempts to get. If I'm bad, I'll die. If I'm not bad, I'll get it first try. It's not actually that difficult, if you know what you're doing. Alright, got it. So now, conveniently, this area connects to Space Station 1. Okay, that was unfortunate. So we can go get the trinkets we missed here, and then skip the Gravitron as well. Let me grab this checkpoint. Yeah, that's why I grabbed it. Oops. Right. I'm just going to reset the cycle by leaving and re-entering the room, which is a convenient mechanic, because if you die, you then sometimes get on weird cycles. So now, we're not supposed to have this much of the map revealed yet, we're just supposed to be able to see part of it. But basically she tells us there's a teleporter and we can take it to get back to the ship. I dodged that checkpoint there so I can reset further back after grabbing this trinket. Saves a minimal amount of time. It's unfortunate. Oh, not quite. This is a relatively hard skip. I can just go for an easier version. Alright, it just takes one extra flip. You can make it just flipping twice, but it's very, very precise. Alright, so now we're going to be going to the end of Space Station 1, to rescue Violet, who's actually the first crewmate we're supposed to rescue, but we skipped that at the start of the game, and now by doing it now, it triggers a cutscene, which then skips the Gravitron, instead of taking us there after rescuing the fourth crewmate. So that's relatively convenient. So here's the last telejump in the run. I clipped through the wall there, and then I'm almost at the end of Space Station 2 already. For this trinket, I have to grab that checkpoint and now do the rest of the levels without touching any checkpoints at all. And then I trigger that moving platform suicide, and then I can grab the trinket. And I have to do the rooms again, but this time I'm allowed to actually touch checkpoints. And that is the last crewmate. So if I didn't do anything wrong, I should have 19 trinkets now. There's one trinket in the final level, which is actually unskippable. Yeah. So the final level obviously combines elements from every other level in the game. So it's somewhat intense, or somewhat difficult. You should be able to get it deathless consistently in a speedrun, but you can always choke a run here. So we have screen wrapping, we have lines, we have spikes, we have checkpoints. Later on we'll have conveyors, like in Space Station 2. So there's a bit of everything. Or just go around. There's a line clip there, but if you don't get it first or second try, it doesn't actually save much time. So I need to activate the terminal to trigger something to happen. Basically the screen won't wrap anymore now, which allows you to visit different levels, and some levels are the same but they behave differently because there's no screen wrapping. There's a line clip, there's another one. Of course I get them both first try now. So there's two small auto-scrollers here. I don't mind too much because they're short enough. Not quite as long as the tower. So this is the final challenge. It should be the last room you can die on. Let's see. Oh, okay, I must have missed a trinket somewhere. Oh, I know which trinket I missed. I'll just get it after the game complete screen. So normally time would come up now, but because I don't have all the trinkets, it's not yet. That's fine. 17:24 is a decent time. One of the trinkets you actually have to talk to one of the crewmates for, and she just gives it to you, because that's just how it works. So now we get a cutscene first, and then I'll go grab it afterwards. So this is the end of the game cutscene. You wouldn't normally watch this, but because I forgot a trinket we have to. So now we can skip the credits and just continue from where we left off. And here, I just need to talk to Victoria 3 times, I think. Yeah, okay, there. Now we have all 20 trinkets. And then this triggers the secret lab, so now basically there's sirens again, like at the start of the game. And this triggers a cutscene, so the trinket's turned into a giant warp thing, and we all go through and get stuck. Because that's smart. So an interesting thing about this cutscene is once these people combine, I'm gonna suicide, I'm gonna exit to menu, and now if I continue, I'm Giant Viridian. What's interesting is that his hitbox is completely broken, so he can just clip through walls like this. Anyway, That's VVV 100%. Now I'm going to do an any percent real quick. It's going to take about 40 seconds. It's really hard to explain because it's very complicated. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Oh, I see. I need to actually restart the game because otherwise I'm going to be Big Viridian. Sorry about that. I'll change the screen size in just a second. Oops. There you go. All right. Right. So a lot of stuff is going to happen really quickly. Oh, timer. Right. Sorry. Yeah. So 3, 2, 1, go. A lot of stuff is going to happen really quickly. I don't have time to explain it, so I'm just going to do the run. So I'm just going to warp somewhere completely different right at the start of the game. Basically, I told the game to start a time trial, but because it's still in the main game and not in time trial mode, I can just walk out. There we go. So I got a glitch called text storage, in which you just exit the menu while having text box active, which lets me break cutscenes. Alright, and that's the game. Alright, that was VVVVV done really quick. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.